If you could isolate one thing that most people are totally overlooking with regard to executive presence and speaking, it would be this. But nobody's talking about it because nobody wants to talk about it, because in order to talk about this subject, you have to get very self-aware very quickly. I talk about the competence communication gap, that area where you're competent at your job, but you're not good at speaking. And there's a gap there where everybody knows that you're the person who is the business leader, the thought producer, you're the person of action. When you get up to speak, it's a different story. Well, today I want to talk to you about a different gap. And we're going to examine the trait that nobody talks about, that I'm telling you has been responsible for probably 80% of the things that have gone well in my life. And I would dare say responsible for almost all that I've seen go well in the lives of others. And that is called likability. The likability gap. What in the world is likability? Well, it's exactly what I'm saying it is. It's to be likable. You don't need to overcomplicate this. And some of you that make a habit of saying, well, I'm just the guy that comes in and tells you how it is. I'll put you in your place. I say the hard thing. Sure, but you're not likable. And if you're trying to build a business or you're trying to manage a team and you are, in other words, dispensable, likability is going to catch up with you. And if you fall into the likability gap, you're going to be thought of without as much credibility as those who are likable. So this is something that I coach people on, especially I had a client this week who I was working with one-on-one, and I was coaching him on a job interview. And you've heard me talk about this before, but when I do a job interview, people will bring me their bona fides, their resumes, all of the things that they've done. They will talk about their experiences. They'll talk about how they grew a company from 1 million a year to 20 million a year. They'll do all that. And then they talk about how they're going to be going into this interview and how they ask me how they should frame saying all this stuff. And they usually don't like what I say. What I say is, at this point, if you're coming in for a third or fourth round of interviews, which is a lot of big corporate jobs, that's what they're doing right now. Like the first interview is just the initial, do I even want you to apply for this job? And then the fourth one is the one that seals the deal. And I say every single one of those interviews, to a degree, is to measure your likability. If you got a call back, they already know that you are qualified professionally. If you received an email to come in for an interview, they already have checked out whether or not they like your professional trail. What they are looking for, and I'll say this and shout it from the rooftops, and executives, and I've sat in a lot of executive meetings and I've talked to a lot of executives. They are wondering if when they see you, they aren't going to want to turn and run away. That's what they're wondering. They're wondering if they see you come in early, are they going to be upset that you're there? Or are they genuinely going to be excited because they get to interact with you? That is what they're measuring, and it's likability. They don't teach this in school. There's no class about likability. There's no way that you can take a test and go, ooh, I'm 70% in likability. No. So I'm going to give you 5 metrics that you can use for yourself to determine if you are likable when you're communicating. 5 things that will boost your likability. And if you do these 5 things on a consistent basis, I'm not saying perfect, because the only perfect one is Jesus, and none of us can match up to him. If you can do these things consistently, then you're going to be thought of by your peers. You're going to be thought of by the people that report to you. You're going to be thought of by the people who you're speaking to as likable. So here they are in no particular order. Number one, be interested, not interesting. Be interested, not interesting. This is very, very easy to explain, but very difficult to do. There is that meme of the guy with, I don't know what it was, some sort of alcohol. It's like Dos Equis. I don't even know how to Dos Equis. You know, the guy with the beard, the salt and pepper beard. And he's like the most interesting man in the world. Like, and it has all these stories. Like, he went to climb Mount Everest, and on the way up, he fought 3 mountain lions. And there's all these like stories that, whatever, I'm butchering it, but you get it. And the key is, like, this guy's so interesting, and he's holding this drink, and he's like, I am the most interesting man in the world, and I drink Dos Equis. Most people are not particularly interesting, meaning they don't have that kind of resume. They're not scaling Mount Everest. They're not going on 100-mile hikes. They're not 10-time Emmy Award-winning actors, actresses. So interesting is something that we can hardly accomplish because it requires us to be objectively interesting. So the people that do this best are celebrities. People are interested in them. Why? Because we watch them in movies. We see how they behave in movies. You know, we watch different things happening. We're interested. So that's why they're interesting, because so many eyes are on them. Well, we're not like that. But here's how you become interesting. You be interested in others. I'm telling you, this works. You don't focus on trying to be cool at all and tell people your cool stories at all. No, you ask them about their stories. You ask them about them, and you be interested. I'll give you an example. I had an amazing conversation today with one of my administrators at the church. She's working her face off because we have a big VBS event coming up. That's a vacation Bible school for children. And I came in and I had a lot of things to do. And I was talking to her, and she was telling me about how her and her husband will travel to a certain part of Pennsylvania, and they will go to this one place and stay. It's a little in the wooded area. And then we'll go to this restaurant that they love really close to that hotel. And she lit up about this restaurant. I was like, well, tell me about the restaurant. Tell me more about the restaurant. And she said, oh, it's great because it's real close. You can walk over there. And she was explaining and how good the food is and the service is top notch. And my husband likes it. I love it. And every time we go back there. And the last time we stayed there, we went twice. I said twice. So he really likes it. Oh, he loves it. And I went on and on. Here's a little secret. I'm going to tell you. Don't tell her. I don't know anything about this area. I don't have trivia about that. Like, I've maybe passed through the area she was referring to maybe once or twice. I don't know that area. So what you might think is, oh, I have to know a little bit about that area, and go, well, actually, that restaurant was founded in blah, 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 and it was started by blah, 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 blah. And we want to be interesting in that way. But the way that I had a great conversation with her is I was interested in what motivated her to like this place. Because I've never been. I don't know. I'm probably never going to go there. But her and her husband like it. And that's all that it took for me to become interesting. She seemed to like the conversation. I liked the conversation. I don't know if she might not have told people if she did or didn't. I enjoyed talking to her. And it was an easy conversation to have because I wasn't trying to be interesting. I was interested in her. When you're speaking to people, if you take genuine interest in them, they will think that you are the smartest and most insightful leader on the planet. This isn't manipulation. This is genuine. Think about others over yourself. Dale Carnegie, one of my favorite stories from How to Win Friends and Influence People, is when he was, and I've talked about this over and over again in a when I would do these programs. Dale Carnegie was stuck at a party with a botanist. And he didn't know anything about botany. He didn't know anything about plants. And all he did for I don't know, like the whole entire evening, was talk to this plant person about plants and talk about how plants are and ask them questions. And what plant do you like? What's your favorite thing? How do you plant them? What do you do? And he was asking all these questions. And he said he spent all this night asking her questions. We didn't think a thing about it. Well, then he saw an article written about him in the newspaper from the botanist. And then the botanist said that he was the most interesting person that botanist had ever spoken to. Why? Because he was interested. He was interested. So that's likability. Most people will not focus on other people. If you do, you're going to be likable. If you go into a job interview and somebody asks you, "Oh, tell me about your career in tech," and you say, "Oh, I've been here 25 years. I've been doing this, cybersecurity, blah, blah, blah." And then you say, what do you think about tech? You're in the same field. What brought you into it? That one little pivot is enough. That one little pivot is enough. Second component of this is remembering and using names. That's just a gimme. That's so simple. One detail about them, something about their name, anything about their name. If you use their name, if you try to memorize their name, if you try to learn their name, if you repeat their name, you're automatically more likable. It's going to feel weird at first, especially if you're from certain parts of the country. In the South, they do this a lot more. In the Northeast, you're like, "What do you call? Why do you know my name? What do you have my business for? I'm in the Northeast." We get more and more cynical as we get closer and closer to Maine. More cynical. So I'm from the Northeast. Not a lot of people use names. If you use names, you're going to be one step ahead of just about everybody. So you remember their names, and remember, it's not that you know their names, but it's that you have shown that you are interested in them enough to care about the thing that everybody calls them. Remember and use their names. Again, this is straight Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie said, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. This transcends cultures. If you get to know somebody's name and you speak and use their name, "Hey, John, thank you." So do this here. I'll give you an exercise to try. Don't take my word for it. When you go to a restaurant next week or this week, go talk to the server and use their name. "Oh, hey, thanks, Joan. What do you know about the specials?" "Oh, hey, thanks, Dawn. What do you think about this?" I dare you. I dare you. And let me know how that goes. Let me know what you see in that person's face. It'll blow your mind how that changes the trajectory of that relationship. It adds a humongous layer of likability if you can do it. Now, if you're in a public speaking setting where there's hundreds of people, using names may be an obstacle. But if you are managing a team and you say, "Oh, there's John, or there's Matt, or there's Alex, there's Chris," you use their name, they think that you care about them because you should. You're a leader. Leaders lead people. The one thing all leaders need is followers. And if you have followers, you should care to make them feel important. And using their names is one of the easiest ways to make them feel important. Third, get this one from my acquaintance, and we've only met twice, but I'm subscribed to all of his programs, and I'm certified in his chief StoryBrand framework, Donald Miller. Let them be the hero. Let them be the hero. So there is a framework that Donald Miller teaches in the StoryBrand methodology called "The Customer is the Hero." And a lot of times what happens is when we're trying to sell, we paint ourselves as the hero. "Oh, you were down and out, you were messing with your finances and you really messed them up. And here I came and I know all these things about the S&P 500 and how to make you a millionaire before you turn 50. And all you need to do is sign up for my thing and I will show you." No, you don't want to be the hero in somebody's story. You want to show them this is the time for you to turn your financial picture around. Tomorrow, you can have all of this and more if you start investing, right? So this is putting them in the driver's seat, not me, it's putting them. And that's called the customer as the hero when you're trying to sell. Well, this actually works when you're trying to develop likability. When you're talking to people, don't be the hero in the story. Don't be the one-upper. When somebody tells you they graduated from college, if you have degrees, don't talk about your degrees. "Oh, you graduate?" I was coaching a young man. He just finished his first year in college. I said, "You're steps ahead. A lot of people don't finish. They start the first semester, they fail out. And you're just finishing your first semester? He goes, well, it's just, or my first year. He said, well, it was just my first year. I said, well, not to a lot of people. You're a lot further ahead. I didn't sit there and go, by the way, you know, when I was in college and I went to grad school and then I went to grad school again and blah, 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 I'm the hero. No one cares. Who cares? It's not going to make him more, he's not going to like me more for that. Wow, you went to college? Everything that I think about myself now is irrelevant because you went to, you see what I mean? Think about it from your perspective. If you spent a year working your face off to accomplish something that a lot of people don't accomplish, and then somebody comes alongside and is like, yeah, I actually have 2 graduate degrees. What, you know, that's cool. Just keep going. How's that going to make you feel? You want the people you're talking to be the hero. Resist the urge to top their story and let their story be the highlight of your conversation. So we got interested, not interesting. I talked to a friend of mine, a Vistage chair named Ken Proctor, about that. He's amazing at his keynote about this. Remember and use names, Dale Carnegie. Let them be the hero. That's Donald Miller. Next, match your energy before you lead. Energy. So match their energy before you lead with energy. So this is you looking at other people. Now, you might disagree with this. And it's okay. Everybody's entitled to be wrong. Really, you are. But if you're super extroverted and in people's faces and you're the kind of person that's like, I'm the guy that's going to stand up and tell you what's going on. Like if you're that person, before you become that person in a room, get a feel for the room. If everybody is like that, match it. If everyone is kind of reserved, go there and try to start that energy level first, and then gradually bring people up. Bring people up. I did a coaching a couple weeks ago in oh geez, where have I been? Nashville. I couldn't remember. They had all these warnings about the heat. You know, southern heat is a lot different than heat in Northeast, obviously. And I went into this coaching session, a day-long session with this team. And amazing team, remarkable people. They were very quiet, reserved. They were talking, inside joking, you know, like they're friendly. So I came in and I just sat down and I was like, yeah, you know, how's it going? What do you like about being here? And what do you think about this weather? And I didn't get to, oh, today we're going to show you how to win this. But no, I'm not there to lead until they let me take the lead. I have to earn that. And the way you earn it is through likability. And then after a while, I was getting them up and moving and presenting and working with them. And then finally the energy continued to go up and we had a good time. But I didn't start there. I worked my way up to that. So likability means that I'm meeting you where you are instead of well, I'm just an energetic person. No one cares who you are. No one cares what you like. People are thinking about themselves. Nobody is thinking about, well, this is the kind of person he is, and we have to, no, don't. Just think about them and how you'd feel. What if you had a rough day? What if you started your morning off and you kind of missed your coffee and your car, you had a flat tire and maybe the dog threw up and you had a fight with your spouse and you come in and there's a guy that's like, oh, I'm energetic and you're going to be energetic. Yeah, okay. It's a turnoff. You got to be careful. You got to be cautious and match that energy. As a leader, you want to make sure that you're watching those around you and trying to guide them by leading instead of forcing them to do something that they wouldn't otherwise do. Finally, last thing about likability. Oh, this is so important. Nobody's going to do this. If you're doing this, you're doing Jedi level stuff. Give people credit that they don't deserve. Or look for ways to give people credit that they do deserve. So when you're talking to people, you want to make sure that you give them credit. And so if you have a team, and let's say the team is all working on a project and you're leading the project, and let's say you're doing the lion's share of putting the pieces together and you're the one that got the deal or whatever, freak your team out by giving them credit for the hard work that you did. Use we. This is what we did. Do that. In fact, try to remove yourself from getting credit altogether. Try to take yourself out of the equation and give your team credit. Dale Carnegie Dale Carnegie's leadership program is called Sharing the Glory. And I call it the top tier likability. If you can do something, get it done work with somebody else, and then give them credit for getting it done, it's over. It is over. You'll be likable. This begs the question, Sam, how do I get credit? What if I did do it? What if I did work hard? How do I get the credit? The answer to that question is the credit you're going to get is likability. If people are working with you and they see that you are willing to share and say, look, this person did this, or if you're on an interview and go, you know what, I can't believe how amazing you did at putting this process together. It's really streamlined. You really did a good job. If you are able to do that, your likability factor is so high. So as a leader, if you have a team, you got to give the team credit. You got to think about them, think about their strengths, think about where they shine, think about what they've done. You're like, but my team doesn't work as hard as I do. And I do a lot more. Well, guess what? Welcome to leadership. There is no party for you. Every level you rise in leadership is one more thing you have the opportunity to give up. Every level. So when you're at the top of an organization, you give up more things. You give up the right to do more things. And one of the first things you ought to give up as a leader is credit. I work for a very large church, and it's amassed a lot of real estate. We've done a lot of things over the years. We're building this massive project. None of it, not one of it is because I single-handedly did anything, but all of it, every bit of it has to do with the people around me. And I mean that. I'm not even being facetious. The one thing that I've learned in ministry, and this is if you forgive me for putting my Christian hat on, is God can replace me in a heartbeat with somebody that's way better and more effective. There's a ton. There are 100 people probably within a 20-mile radius that could do what I do. And God could empower them. But I will tell you this, there is no team like the team that I have. None. There are no leaders that I know of like the leaders at our church. There are no generous people that are as generous as the people I know. And I mean it because I lead them and I get to see what they do. And you're like, well, are you generous? Don't you want to take credit? No, I don't need to take credit. The credit that I get, the glory that I get is from being able to say that I lead those people. So that's likability. That's what it is. It's the ability that you have to be liked. And it'll probably make you a lot of money, a lot more money than what colleges will tell you that it will. If you need this kind of help, my calendar link is in the show notes. Let's talk. I'd love to get you ready for that 6-figure and up job that you're trying to land. I'd love to help you make that move. I would love to show you what being likable looks like in your interview and specifically in your context. So if you need help with that, or if you need help speaking at the level of your competence, let's talk. But until next time, we'll see you soon. Take care.